LEGO fans have come up with insane theories, but some of them are actually true. Like, have you ever noticed the holes in minifigures' heads? If you're Gen Z or younger, every minifigure from your childhood probably looks like this, and the theory is that these are breathing holes. It seems insane, but it's actually true. LEGO confirmed it in an interview with Gizmodo a few years ago, saying they added them so kids could keep breathing if they swallowed one. LEGO started doing this around 1992, which funnily enough is around the same time pen companies added holes in their pen caps. But something else we've all noticed is getting extra pieces in LEGO sets. And the theory here was that LEGO was just sloppy with quality control and didn't really know what they were doing. Knowing how accurate the brick is, this seemed like the craziest theory ever, but it's actually not far off. LEGO bags pieces by weight with industrial scales instead of counting them out, because obviously that would take forever. But these scales aren't that accurate. The machine keeps adding pieces until it hits the target weight for every bag, which works well for big pieces, but the smaller the piece, the harder it is to tell when there are extras. That's why you've never gotten an extra 2x4 brick in any set. The scale can easily tell when it has one too many of those, but an extra stud, slope, or Technic pin slips through all the time. People still think this is LEGO being nice in case we lose pieces, but it's just their scales not being sensitive enough. Along this same vein, when LEGO first released the collectible minifigures, they were in blind bags. So obviously, everyone's original thought was there was no way to tell what minifig was in what bag. But people online didn't buy it, and they were actually able to figure out what minifigs were inside based on the barcode. Each fig had their own personal pattern. So once the internet opened all of them, they made a cheat sheet that spread like wildfire. This happened with the first two series of CMF. So when LEGO made Series 3, they completely removed barcodes. But of course, the fans prevailed. They figured out that the bags had bump codes on the outside. If you felt around and noticed a pattern from the new cheat sheet, again, you knew exactly what was inside. And this method didn't get patched until Series 6. In this series, the bumps were still there, but they weren't as reliable, so people just started feeling for pieces through the bags since they were so malleable, which also wasn't very reliable. Since Series 6, there hasn't been a real way to actually know what's inside, even if you do the Pokemon method and weigh the bag. That is, until Series 25 came out. LEGO added these matrix codes next to the barcodes, and apparently the bigger one is scannable on the Brick Search app. It will literally just tell you what's inside, no problem. LEGO's gotten up to Series 29 and still hasn't patched this method. And with all the other methods, you could get yourself a pretty valuable minifigure, which actually leads into another theory. Certain LEGO holds its value very well, and some people thought it might do better than the safest bets in the stock market. So researchers at the Higher School of Economics pulled data from over 2,300 sets from 1987 to 2015 and tracked their prices after they got discontinued. They found that retired sets had an average return of at least 11% every year, which is better than gold, a lot of large company stocks, and the S&P 500. And this is only the average. Certain rare sets blew past that number entirely, hitting returns as high as 700%. Just like regular investing, nothing is guaranteed. So I'm definitely not telling you to go invest in LEGO for the rest of your life. But the fact that a kid's toy has outperformed gold is a genuinely wild statistic. Not every business decision worked out that well, and the story behind LEGO Universe's collapse is one of the funniest disasters in gaming history. It launched as a building-focused MMO and gave kids total creative freedom with virtual bricks. And if you hand thousands of kids infinite bricks with zero moderation, there's not a single world where it ends well. There's already a LEGO piece that looks like a certain body part, and with unlimited bricks at their fingertips, players were taking full advantage of the opportunity. In the moment, everyone who played LEGO Universe knew exactly why it got canceled. but other people didn't. So when developer Megan Fox sat down for an interview, she explained that players were building this body part more than anything else, and when LEGO did eventually start moderating it, players built them in ways that could only be seen from one angle. They also split them into pieces, and the automated moderation couldn't detect either of these, which forced LEGO to hire real people to moderate instead, and it wasn't a small team. Moderation was the most expensive part of this game for LEGO, hence why it was only around from 2011 to 2012. That's also why this body part theory was only a theory. People didn't know what happened because they weren't there. But there's one theory that's been proven for years: the existence of a LEGO vault. Way back in the day, yeah, this was just a rumor. People couldn't believe that LEGO kept a copy of every set they've ever made. But it's 2026, and along with LEGO literally making a set about it, there are loads of videos about it on YouTube. However, it has changed over the years. A video from Beyond the Brick shows memory lane in the basement of the LEGO Idea House, and just like we thought, there were thousands of sets down there. This vault was clearly not meant for tourists, so you needed special permission to get inside, but that's completely changed now. LEGO moved it to a new room, and attendees of the LEGO Inside Tour have full access to it. Oh, and that set from earlier is the exclusive Inside Tour set from 2024, so there's literally no denying the vault's existence. Memory Lane is the perfect embodiment of people's passion for vintage LEGO, and LEGO knows this, so for their 90th anniversary, they let fans vote to get a brand new set from a retired theme. LEGO handpicked the 30 most popular ones, and the top 3 would get a new set. But when the votes came in, something wasn't right. The top 3 were Bionicle, Classic Space, and Pirates. And Castle fans were surprised to see their theme all the way at 6th place. People started talking online and theorized that somehow LEGO messed up counting the votes, and they were actually right. LEGO updated their article saying that they separated the votes of all the Castle sub-themes, and when they combined them, Castle easily took the #1 spot. The updated top 3 then became Bionicle, Classic Space, and Classic Castle, but LEGO never combined the votes from the Space sub-themes. So people's new theory is that LEGO folded under pressure from salty Castle fans. And this one isn't confirmed, but I kind of believe it. Space Police, Blacktron, Ice Planet, and M-Tron are in the space theme, but their votes never got added to the total. Not every sub-theme LEGO added to Castle's number was part of Classic Castle either. So it kind of looks like Castle fans just complained to get what they wanted. Bionicle fans are by far the most cheated though, because LEGO never even made a set for them. Leakers always know what's coming out next, and there's been no word about Bionicle, but the Titanic set from 2021 is a completely different story. Rumors about a giant Titanic set started circulating on Eurobricks around September of that year, and people were skeptical that a set that size was even real. But then, leaked images of the box showed up on a German LEGO news website, proving its existence. This German site confirmed everything the leakers said. The piece count, the fact that it would split into sections so you could see inside, and even that the pistons and propellers would move. After this, fans should have just trusted the leakers, but they didn't, so the Zelda leaks played out the exact same way. Fans had spent years watching Zelda sets get rejected on LEGO Ideas, so by early 2024, a lot of people had given up hope. The rumors started about a Great Deku Tree set, and this time the leaks were incredibly specific, predicting a September 2024 release and 2,500 pieces exactly. Like clockwork, the Great Deku Tree dropped September 1st with exactly 2,500 pieces, matching what leakers called out months in advance and becoming the first official Zelda set ever. However, what happened with Benny from the LEGO movie was totally different. Benny is obviously supposed to be a vintage LEGO astronaut, so nobody batted an eye at the trashed logo on his torso, but they did question the crack in his helmet. This movie was obviously aimed at kids that weren't around for classic space, so they had no idea that this was a real piece of LEGO's history. The original chin strap was way thinner than what we have now and broke all the time. So if you go through classic space collections today, a lot of those helmets have a crack in the same spot as Benny. His helmet wasn't a coincidence. It was LEGO referencing a problem with their own quality control. But the theory with the biggest payoff in this video is Darth Jar Jar. For over 2 decades, this was the most talked about Star Wars theory out there, that Jar Jar was secretly a Sith Lord planted by Palpatine, and that George Lucas planned to reveal it before backing out because audiences hated Jar Jar. Over time, it slowly turned into one big joke, but then in 2024, LEGO made it real. They made a TV show called LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, which is their equivalent of What If from Marvel. Everything in this universe is backwards. Vader's suit is white and he has a blue lightsaber. So LEGO took the chance to make Darth Jar Jar real, and they even made a real minifigure of him for the Dark Falcon set. This is more of a theory being realized than proven true, but fans were suspicious about the lore of Bionicle way earlier than you might think. Back in 2007, fans on the old BZ Power forums theorized the entire island of Mata Nui wasn't an island at all. It was the head of a massive robot. It sounds like the kind of theory people cook up for fun with no intent to be right, and for about a year, that was the case. However, in 2008, LEGO confirmed it, and it wasn't a loose metaphor. Mata Nui was a 40 million foot tall robot, and the entire storyline was taking place on the surface of his face the entire time. And LEGO didn't start this out of nowhere either. Mount Ihu is taken from the Maori language and translates to nose, so the signs were definitely there. But when LEGO makes licensed sets, they tend to foreshadow what's coming up in the movie or show. The most recent example is about the Mandalorian and Grogu, and it actually starts with a Super Bowl commercial. The ad showed Grogu and Mando getting pulled by tauntauns on a snowy planet, and with the release date already announced, fans thought they might be on Hoth. With the millions of planets in Star Wars, there's no real way to know where people are based on the environment. But when LEGO released their sets for this movie, Dirk Libby of Cinema Blend was convinced the theory was right. The AT-RT attack set showed the two fighting Imperials on a snowy planet, and Hoth is famously occupied by the former Empire, so it all added up. Lo and behold, the opening scene of the movie was on Hoth. So obviously, this is a good call from the Super Bowl, but LEGO helped confirm the theory. Now, this next one has to do with designer signatures, which, if you don't know, is when LEGO designers include an Easter egg that relates to them to sign their work. Lots of designers have them, but Nick Voss's is a little different. You know how the bonsai tree has pink frogs instead of leaf pieces? Well, Nick designed it, and the frogs are his signature. He started this weird trend with the brick bank set from Modular Buildings, where he used it as a decoration on the roof. It's to the point now where if the set is decently big, you can expect to see at least one frog in a place it's not supposed to be. But this next theory is nothing like the others. A few weeks after LEGO Mindstorms launched in 1998, a Stanford grad student named Kekoa Proudfoot reverse engineered the RCX brick, the literal core of the entire system, and posted everything he found online for free. For any other company, this is where lawyers get involved, especially since Mindstorms launched the same year the DMCA passed, a law written specifically to let companies crack down on stuff like this. But LEGO did the opposite. The creators of Mindstorms believed that being respected by the hacker community was essential to its success. So instead of pressing charges, LEGO set up official forums, released a software development kit, and legally allowed people to hack Mindstorms. This seems like a wild move, but the developer's theory was right. Mindstorms blossomed into one of LEGO's best serious themes, and it only happened because they embraced the hackers instead of fighting them off. There are always crazy theories with popular LEGO, but the LEGO movie had the craziest one by far. As we all know, the LEGO movie story was made by a kid named Finn playing with his LEGO. So people theorized that he might have a personal connection to how everything played out. They thought that Finn had a crush on a girl at school, but she was always with a kid who wears Batman merch, just like how Emmett liked Wildstyle but was taken by Batman. It seems crazy, but according to Chris Miller, who co-wrote and co-directed the movie, the theory wasn't far off. So not only did the writers make the entire LEGO movie story, but they based it on the imaginary life of Finn. But which of these fan theories was your favorite? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.